apart.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And today we are doing something very different because a friend of ours, Pilot Pete, is coming on. What we are going to do is we watched his first episode of being the Bachelor, and we're going to recap that episode because why not? We don't have anything else to do, and it's going to be fun. But before we do, we have a pretty big announcement. I was kind of shocked when I saw it. I saw it on Twitter. Rob Mills tweeted it, that the Golden Bachelorette is Joan from Gary's season, which is the only season. So.
It does make it really easy when it's like, oh, Joan from the Golden Bachelor, because there's only been one season of the Golden Bachelor. It's like very easy to keep track of contestants when there's only been one season.
For now, but talk to us in a few years and it's going to be not as easy.
Yeah, 100%.
So what do you think about Joan?
I think it's great. Honestly, she would have been in like some of the people that I would assume they were considering for Golden Bachelor. I mean, she's ridiculously beautiful. She has, she's lost her husband. I know her and Gary connected on that. So we did learn a lot about her and her story, despite the fact that she left in like episode 3, which was really early on in the season. But I feel like she did make such an impact, and she left because her daughter was struggling with her mental health after having a baby, and she went to support her daughter. So I think that really touched a lot of the viewers with that story. And like, she's a mom, and she talks about taking care of her kids, taking care of her parents, that like in between era. So like, I don't know. I just feel like she's someone that like, I feel like I know a lot about, considering she was only in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Like usually I would be like, no, she went home week 3. Like there's no way. But like you did really get to know her from like her one-on-one all the way to the Women Tell All / finale. So
yeah, I mean, that's fair. After listening to you talk, I was like, oh yeah, I know all that. That is actually a lot to know. Right? I think Gary would have chosen her. If she you
have
home.
said that before.
I thought she was like the heavy favorite. Just when we talked to Gary the first time, just him defining the woman that he is into, it seemed like she checked all those boxes. She makes sense because just she's attractive. I see a lot of men in their late 60s and 70s that would like love to date her. Right?
Yeah, 100%. She's beautiful.
I feel like when those guys were in their teens, like that was the girl that was all over Sports Illustrated and was like the model, was like the blonde hair, blue eyes woman.
Yeah.
Right?
I totally agree.
So I see a lot of guys going crazy for her. It's interesting. I wonder after Gary split if he ever reached back out to Joan.
I've thought about that. After the divorce, I've wondered if he's gone and DM'd any of the women from his season and been like, hey, you want to try again?
I mean, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
But apparently it wasn't Joan, unless, Gary decides to roll up night 1 and be a contestant this time around.
How many guys do you think they're going to be able to get?
I mean, I think a full cast, like what, I don't know.
What was the full cast for?
I want to say it was around 25.
20 something?
Yeah, around like mid 20s.
Now, what do we think Joan's type is?
See, Gary and Joan were kind of giving like siblings are dating. You know that thing where it's like, are they siblings or are they dating? Because they kind of look alike. I could see her being into like a similar type to Gary, like tall, blonde.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Both golden leads are golden. Are actually golden.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but like it really does look great in the promos.
Yeah. When they put them. Yeah, the backdrops.
Side by side, they're like really like the male and female version of each other in a way.
Wow, siblings are dating. Yeah, definitely. I definitely get that. They but yeah, she had left because her daughter really needed her and she went home.
Yeah.
How old is Joan? She's like
in her early 60s.
Early 60s,
I want to say
right?
she's like 61. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's going to be good. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm more excited for Golden Bachelorette than I was for Golden Bachelor.
Because you want to see all the 16, 17-year-old men?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by the casting for this show.
I just don't know how they're going to get these guys.
They did such a good job with the casting for Golden Bachelor too. And I feel like that was a big question mark of like, what's this going to be? Like, who are they going to get for this show? So I'm really curious. Like when they release that like group photo cast of women, like I'm waiting for that group photo cast of men.
And yeah, me too. And Joan lives in California, right? She's a local Californian.
Is she?
I think so. I'm like pretty sure.
And we met Joan. We had the chance to meet her.
We met her when we were at the first time we meet her was in the mansion, right?
Yeah, we went to the Golden Bachelor finale party that was hosted at the Bachelor Mansion.
Also, I stand corrected. Joan lives in Maryland.
Yeah, when you said California, I was like, that doesn't sound right.
She looks like she lives in California.
She does. She looks like an LA girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, we met her at the mansion. She was great. We had a lot of fun with her. I think she's going to be like a really fun lead and very capable of like carrying the show.
All the women were very chatty, but she was very chatty. She was very opinionated on what she...
So chatty. Her and I were sitting in the fireplace for like an hour together trying to warm up.
She was the one that like had like this idea of like they should change the format.
Oh yeah, she was like pitching things.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, Joan...
But she's not going to want to change the format now.
She was pitching things to us and we were like, Joan, you got some great ideas, girl, but we have no power here. We are not the people to be talking to. Like, you got to get in front of some execs if you want to pitch these ideas. But
I remember that. Yeah, she told me it was like I think it was the idea was to have like multiple leads, kind of similar to
Paradise,
a Rachel and Gabby situation. But I think it was like 3 leads, and she was telling me this, and she said, "Well, what do you think?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, sure, great, but like." What do you want me to do about it? Like,
well, she's just sharing.
Like, I can't. No, but the way she presented it to us, I was like, yeah, we have no power. So, I don't know.
But she has a lot of ideas about the show and things that they can do to like, you know, make it fun and new and exciting and successful. So I feel like she's going to be very involved in her own journey and her own process. You know what I mean?
Like, I honestly, I think she's going to be great. I think. And I think she was the right choice. Like I really do. I think it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think it's so important to choose a lead that will be desirable, right?
Do you mean like looks? Do you mean personality? Do you mean?
I think looks. I think. Well, I'm just saying.
Joe's like they better be hot, or it's not going to work.
Let's just call it what it is. What attraction is like the first thing.
No, look, every lead in the Bachelor franchise, I would say almost everyone cast, but like specifically the leads, like it's like exciting and fun when they're really attractive. Like I think there was a big response to Joey because like girls loved him.
Yeah.
Like viewers loved him. The girls were going crazy for Joey. Like girls were like, I have a crush on Joey. I'm watching my boyfriend every week on TV. Like I think that's good for the fandom, for the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to watch and be like, it's also like a luxurious, fun, sexy show. So you want to like lean into that with your cast, right?
I agree. Yeah. So Joan. Well, we'll see. We're going to definitely have her on the podcast. I believe we had her on before. We definitely had her on. I think we had her on during like the Women Tell All.
We did. She was in our like speed dating interview after Women Tell All, where we had her and a couple other women do some quick interviews. So if you want to listen to Joan chat, you can go back and listen to that episode. But I'm sure that we will have her on sometime in the future.
Definitely sometime.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Hopefully. I'm sure we'll get her on right before her season, and then I'm sure we'll get her on a few times during her season. I really hope we get some of those guys on because that's going to be funny.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
All right, let's get into Pilot Pete's season, night 1. And we are going to ask Pete a bunch of questions about what he was thinking on his season. Like he did get rid of, we just found out, every girl that went on Pete's season who was a flight attendant, he got rid of night 1. Serena thinks he did it on purpose. I say it's a coincidence.
I think he definitely did it on purpose. We also were talking earlier, and I think other than Grocery Store Joe, Pilot Pete might have the most notable nickname in the franchise.
Other than Grocery Store Joe, wow.
I mean, yours is a pretty notable nickname, you know?
Yeah, no. Yeah, we'll talk to him about traders as well and everything else he's got going on.
Yeah, lots to talk to him about. His night one episode was a little unique. It was a 3-hour season premiere. The first half was the traditional night one, getting out of the limo format. And then the second half of the episode was the first week of dates.
Which is insane. I can't believe they ever, I had no idea that they ever did that.
Me either. And I watched it, but I totally forgot. We were halfway through the episode, like, we're already at the rose ceremony. What's going on?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
But we're going to focus on the night one limo outfits, rose ceremony, first impression rose portion. He had a great cast of women, so much to talk about. It was a really good premiere episode. So I think we're starting off with a good one.
Well, it's also, I didn't watch this first episode. I don't think I watched Peter's season. But knowing a lot of the women that are on his season and like seeing them again is actually pretty funny.
Yeah, for reference, after Peter's season, there wasn't a Paradise season that year because of the pandemic. So all of his women that went on Paradise were actually on Joe and I's season of Paradise as well.
Except for Victoria Fuller was on the following.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes. But I would say the majority of the girls, like the next season of Paradise after Peter's season was the season of Paradise that we were on.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through some of the highlights of this episode from night one, some of the standout moments, and kind of talk about some of the women and where they are now.
I'm Elliot Connie.
Every time I have a
Using the right destination when traveling.
Is going on and it's high time you tell me the truth.
Freeze, Americano!
Tree.com. Get to going.
So, limo entrances, who to you stood out the most if you just to pick one girl?
Limo entrances.
Because I have one.
You know what? Alea probably. And I know that she was the first one, which may be why. But I was not surprised. I guess I just didn't remember that she was the first person out of the limo because she never ended up back on Paradise. And I don't know how far she makes it on the season. But yeah, she was the first one out, and she did the note from her grandmother, Rose. Her grandmother's name is Rosemary. Peter's grandmother's name is Rose as well. So I thought it was like a good way to start the episode.
Yeah.
In terms of limo entrances. What about you?
Yeah, I was shocked that she was the first one.
Yeah.
That they shown.
But I think she later in the season ended up having like drama that had started in the pageant world with another one of the girls.
But even then, usually the first person out of the limo isn't usually someone that was involved in drama. It's usually someone that's like either goes deep with the lead or
I'm sorry, what?
goes deep. You know what I mean? Goes deep in the season.
Yep.
But usually it isn't drama related. It's either like heartbreak or like a love story related.
Yes, or just someone that they think. I feel like the first person out of the
Goes
limo
deep with the lead.
is someone that they see really hitting it off with
Yeah.
the lead.
Yeah. That's
and
what I
she
mean.
is very bubbly and beautiful. So maybe they were like, this girl might end up bringing drama, or she might really work out with Peter. She also had one of the better limo entrance gimmicks, I would say.
Yeah.
A lot of the girls I felt like were either coming in on like a car or a plane, or it was just like a classic nice to meet you. There wasn't as many like, I don't know, little like gifts and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought hers was one of like the better entrances.
It was. We'll get into it, but it was a very chaotic night one. It felt.
It
like,
was.
right?
It felt like there was a lot going on. A lot of really strong personalities. Like the casting for this season was great. All the women are like really, really beautiful and great personalities across the board.
Yeah.
Super excited to be there. I don't know what it was about Peter that attracted this group of women, but it's definitely an all-star group.
So I would say for me, out the limo standout would be, and it's easier to say now because we know what happens.
Yeah,
in the
I mean,
season.
don't blame us for hindsight bias,
Yeah.
guys.
I'd say Madison Pruitt. She She seemed out of everyone just like the most confident.
She was very confident.
Yeah.
She had like this beautiful red low back dress on. She came out in like a big paper plane.
Yeah.
Which obviously like so many of the entrances were plain.
But usually like someone that comes out with like a gimmick like flying a plane, it's always kind of like like
it's
that's
awkward and cheesy.
Usually
you're kind of like cringing when they're doing something silly like that. But she did it, so it was like really cute. And yeah, her delivery was just so confident.
Yeah, it just like worked. It was like, okay, like I get, like I instantly am like, okay, this girl's gonna be here a long time.
Yeah, there's no way that she didn't immediately stand out to him from that entrance.
Yeah,
like we should actually ask him about who his standout entrances were, and I bet you she's in it.
Yeah, this is good because now we could come up with questions for Pete.
I know this is like interview
hopefully he
prep.
remembers.
I know it's been a few years. I would say the two biggest themes for the limo entrances overall, though, were he's a pilot.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of flight attendants. Everyone's doing like piloty flight things, and then also the windmill and like sex jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we saw Deandra came out with like dressed as a windmill.
We saw Victoria Fuller like not like tell a joke that she was like regretting mid joke and then panicked and freaked out.
It's so funny seeing Victoria back on her first season.
Yeah.
Because she has been such an icon in the franchise for so long. And I would say that her like confidence and has like grown over the years.
Yeah, I think that happens with a lot of people that go on the show.
Definitely.
Sure.
Or it's the opposite. And you get more insecure because
yeah.
people are analyzing you, picking you apart.
Yeah. Also, Hannah Brown comes back. Which
yeah,
I don't know if have we ever even seen that. Has a lead ever come back? I'm sure a lead has come back at some point night one, but out of the limo, it was kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm trying to think back if that's ever happened where like a lead has shown back up. I don't think in that way though, because like Peter became the Bachelor obviously like a few months. This is being filmed a few months after his breakup with Hannah Brown.
Yeah.
It was like a really dramatic breakup. They ended things on good terms. There definitely still seemed to be like some chemistry there.
And the reason why I think it works and why they were able to get her back is she was single too.
She was single. Like her and her engagement hadn't worked out.
Yeah.
She was single at the time. And I think that's why it was kind of so scandalous because she came out of the limo almost as if she was like you're watching it being like, is she joining the cast? Like what's happening? You can tell Peter's like eyes lit up. He's excited to see her. I also just think like you're meeting so many new people that first night and seeing someone familiar is so comforting, or even someone that's like been through this experience. Like I remember thinking that with Katie Thurston and Blake Moynes, like there was this extra level of comfort because they had both been through the experience before versus Peter having been through it and now meeting like so many new people who have never been through it before.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Do you think, so Hannah was currently on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. Well, they were filming Peter's season.
While they were filming Peter's season. Do you think if she wasn't doing that show, she would have jumped in on this season?
Well, I mean, so the second part of the episode, Hannah shows up on the date and they do have a conversation that kind of feels like he's asking her to be on the season and stay. I think she might have. I think there was definitely feelings still there on both sides, but at the same time, I think it's for the best that she did it because she would have just had so much of an advantage in a way. Like it would have been like, how do you navigate that relationship while also navigating like all these brand new relationships? Like they'd slept together. They were open about that.
I don't think she would have came back.
No. And I don't think, I think they were toying with the idea more because they knew it couldn't happen. So it was like kind of this like, what if you did, even though you can't? Like I think
it's one thing for a former lead to go on Paradise, which the first time we seen that was Becca. But to have a former lead return
But it's not a former lead. It's his former lead.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general, like have a former lead return as a contestant. I just don't see a world where they do that.
Like if
unless
she was single,
unless they do an all-star season.
Oh my God, what?
And people that, unless they do like a Bachelor all-star season of people that are still single.
Like a Paradise season where it's like all single people
who are
like way down like from the past.
Or who are former leads. Just you have to be a lead. I don't know if there's
enough single former leads for that.
Probably not, but
it's a fun idea. It's a fun concept. Yeah, I think if Hannah Brown was single and she wanted to go on like Matt James's season, well, that they're friends, but you know what I'm saying. Like if she wanted to go on a season of someone that she didn't know, like Zach's season, that's one thing. But it's different for her to go on Peter's season after he was already on her season. It's like, well, you may as well just cut the cameras and go date then, if that's what you're looking for. Speaking of familiar faces, Kelly Flanagan. I think this is also the first time we've seen this happen, and maybe the last
they pre-met.
That they pre-met.
No, I feel like that's happened before.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like I know, and I know who, but I can't think of it. But I feel like that's happened before. I don't think that's the first time.
Okay.
Oh, it happened on my season. It happened. I was barely on it, but I remember there was a guy there from Minnesota who had met Becca before, or I don't know if they actually met before, or may have, maybe like mutual friends tried to set them up and it never happened, but there was something there and she sent him home before rose ceremony.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I do remember that. Yeah, so that's why.
And then I think it was Rachel Lindsay's season. One of the guys was like a few years younger than her, like in school or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they were from the same town.
Yeah.
And there was like some sort of connection there where like she was like,
I remember it was her.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So not the first time, but definitely a unique situation where she was like debating going on the show, ran into Peter at like a bar or a hotel lobby bar or something like that.
So if you don't know, Kelly and Peter ended up dating for I think a little over a year after the show. But how far did Kelly go?
She goes like close to hometowns.
Oh, really? So
yes.
She's like top 5?
I think around there. Yeah, okay. Around there. She didn't go to hometowns, but she makes it far enough that she like had a one-on-one date. He was definitely into her. The way it seemed watching the season, wow, everything is just coming back to me from this season. This is crazy. I feel like when we started watching night 1, I was like, all the memories of this season are coming back. But I think the thing with Kelly was that she wasn't into like the process of it all.
Yeah.
Like she had a hard time leaning into the actual show.
And knowing her, that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Victoria Fuller.
We
see Victoria. Victoria Fuller to me is one of the funnier ones to watch.
She's so funny. She also is just
funny.
A funny person. Like,
she's funny, and we know her, and we like literally just saw her.
Yeah.
So that we see her. I didn't realize she's like the girl who spirals night 1.
Yeah. There's a few girls that spiral night 1.
Yeah.
There was like 3 girls spiraling.
Yeah.
But
Natasha was another one that was kind of spiraling.
Well, Well, let's get into, so like limos are done.
Yeah.
Let's get into like the sit down chats then. What were kind of, we see Alea and her grandmother, but like what were kind of the other standouts?
So obviously Hannah Ann, which I do.
Hannah Ann is kind of like the star of the show this night, I would say. She's really the standout.
Yeah. And
in a good and a bad way, because the women are pissed at her.
The women are pissed at her, but it's working. So what? Also, like knowing Hannah Ann, like, I don't think she went in like with malicious intent of like screw these other girls.
Yeah, well, for those that maybe haven't watched,
I think she was produced. Honestly,
for those that maybe haven't watched or have forgotten, Hannah Ann is the girl that ends up engaged to Peter at the end of the season. She gets the first impression rose night 1, and her method to the madness was she talked to Peter, then she went back and stole Peter again from Natasha.
Yeah.
And then she went back and stole Peter again from, I think it was Sheehan. Yeah. And that's so she talked to him 3 times that night.
Which any other, I don't remember if she got a lot of hate for that, but any other contestant, and she ends up getting the first impression rose.
Yes.
But any other contestant that does that usually does get a lot of hate. But then again, she got the first impression rose. So I think that kind of validated
that he was into it.
That he was into it. And yeah, that it was mutual.
Yes. But still, like, so shocking overall. Yeah, I don't know. She just like really went in there. The reason it's shocking, I will say, is because, I mean, you podcasted with Hannah Ann for a little bit on Clickbait. I've never met her, but she does come across like very sweet. Like she's just this Southern sweetheart.
Yeah, I think that's true to who
and,
she is.
you know, she's giving Peter a painting that her and her dad painted together. And, you know, one of the girls confronts her and is like, hey, you're stealing time from me. And she's like, oh my God, go get your time. Like, she's like so nice.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's who she is. But I think she like got carried away.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm in this new environment. I want to get time. So like, I'm just going to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think this was like rewatching this first night back. One thing I noted was I feel like we see this, but just not nearly as much. And I forget that this was a big thing in the show, especially night 1, were girls interrupting other women during their conversation with the lead. Like that was like people stealing Peter was happening nonstop in this. And I forget how much that was a thing.
I feel like they used to show it more, like how tense that interaction is of like stealing the lead and like girls that go in multiple times. Like I remember Katie Thurston on my season stole Matt from Mari and she used like a dildo to do it.
Yeah.
Because that was like kind of her bit of the night. And Mari was pissed. And I remember Queen Victoria went in twice. And that was like juicy. But I just feel like on this season, it was like really made to be a big thing. Because I think the women were reacting really poorly. And not poorly, but they were having like a negative reaction. Mad. They were getting mad.
And I think watching a lot of people that go on the show obviously watch the show. And knowing after so many seasons that stealing the lead isn't the greatest look, I think people now go in like, yeah, I'll just wait.
Yeah, but that's not great either because then you're sitting there anxious, worrying that you're going to go home. Like it's kind of a lose-lose. Like you have to steal the lead from someone else. That is just how it works.
Well, but there's also I guess there is a cleaner way to do it. And I think what we saw in this season, it was more girls really just not giving a fuck. Like I think it was Natasha and the girl from Canada.
Natasha and the girl from Canada.
Yeah, it wasn't Natasha and Hannah Ann. I think it was
McKenna. Sorry.
McKenna, yeah. So
You're
it was Natasha and McKenna, and they were like going back and forth at each other, like standing there making noises. I was like,
that was crazy.
Like no one does that anymore.
No, well, McKenna had little paper airplanes that she was throwing at Peter and Natasha.
Yeah.
Natasha basically said, no, you can't steal him from me. Then McKenna came back and threw more airplanes and she was like, okay. And then Natasha
stood there and chirped.
Stole him back. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like you don't really see that anymore, but like I do love that. Like that is so old school Bachelor.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love seeing people like fight for time.
Yeah, me too. I think that's a big part of the show that they need to actually start bringing back a little more.
Like
did we see that on Joey's season? Like go back to I don't think we did.
I don't think so, but I do think I don't want to say that Joey had like more passive women because that's not the right word, but maybe just like more easygoing, go with the flow, kind of laid back women. Whereas Peter's women, I would not describe any of them as go with the flow or laid back necessarily. Like they were a lot more I'm going to go get my man. And a lot of them came in like really into Peter, which so did Joey's women. He did have a lot of hype around him as well, but I would just say the casting was different.
Yeah. Yeah. And
but
I feel like
it's so fun to watch. Like there's tension the entire episode between everyone.
any let's see, any other Do we see Madison later in the episode? A little bit.
Maddie,
but
we don't see that much.
Not
We
that
kind of just
much.
see like a short chat. I mean, we do see a conversation between Kelly and Peter where he's like really happy she's there. There's definitely chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah, it does seem like, and again, like we're like Monday morning quarterbacking here, but it does seem like the girls.
I'm sorry, we're what?
Like Monday morning, like
what does that mean?
we know the answer. So
Okay.
So we're basing what we're saying off of the fact that we know.
We know, yeah.
But like
100%.
it seems like Hannah Ann and Kelly.
Yeah, but I will say, like I would say, we see the conversation with Kelly, and there's more of a spark there than his conversation with Maddie.
Yeah.
That from what we see night one.
Yeah.
But I also think he met Kelly already. Like they spent time talking, getting to know each other.
Also, Peter did a pretty good job of seeming like he was kind of into everyone he talked to. There was no,
You're right.
there was like no one that I feel like Peter talked to that you were like, oh, he actually seems really excited to be having this conversation with this person.
Yeah, he was just happy to be there. He's also a very social, charismatic guy. So that is kind of his natural energy, which I think is great for a lead to have.
Yeah.
Because it just makes the women feel so comfortable. And I feel like you get everyone at their you get their most authentic self.
Yeah. And then we see it flashes to like showing the fact that it is now morning and we're having the rose ceremony.
Yeah.
Ton of girls got cut. He cut all the flight attendants. And then this was the first time we ever see they roll into the first day.
Yeah, no,
like
I was
crazy.
like, whoa, that's crazy. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, first night one, we had a lot of kisses. We had a lot of criers. Someone that went home night one that ended up, kind of going on to do more would be Marissa. Marissa went home night one, but she ended up engaged on our season of Paradise, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I will say, this episode, I don't know if this is the right word, but it felt like you said, like this is like traditional old school Bachelor. Like it felt very like I'm watching reality TV.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something, and maybe look, who's to say that in 3 years we're not going to go back and watch Joey's season and say like, oh, this is traditional old school Bachelor. You know what I mean? Like maybe there is just something about going back and watching a season that we've already seen before, but like it was a good season. Like watching it back, I'm like, yeah, this season did really well for a reason.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
What I mean?
Who else should we talk about here?
There
was a few girls that were on our that go on Paradise.
Yeah, let's do a little where are they now?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw some names at you from the cast.
Yeah. Cool.
So first one that stood out to me, we didn't see this person a lot.
Oh, I have somebody that stood out to me. I wonder if you're going to say who it is.
Oh, no, because I'm going in alphabetical order. So you go.
Oh, Sydney.
Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would have watched this first episode and been like, Sydney would probably be something that I would have put in my top. You and I always do top 3.
Top 4.
Top 4. Sydney would have been in my top 4.
Yes, she's so beautiful.
Sydney would have been in my top 4. I mean, I feel like you have to put Fuller in there just because she's already spiraling. But you can tell Peter likes her.
Really? I feel like their conversation was so short, and both interactions revolved around this like dirty joke that she was uncomfortable making.
Yeah, and then she says it again, and he doesn't. That was the funniest part. She was self-conscious about the joke. She didn't deliver it. And then she goes back and tells Peter the same joke. And he goes, yeah, well, could you re-say that? Because I don't remember. He goes, I don't remember. And then that's when she spirals.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I would have too.
Because she's probably like, I shouldn't have brought this up a second time. And now I have to say it again. No, I did not think her, like, I would have spiraled a little bit too if I was her on the first night.
Well, it's also easy, like, I mean, I know this happened for me, and I would say this happens for 90% of the people that go on the show. It's so easy to think like the lead is doesn't even know who I am. Like the lead's not into me at all.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're there night one, you're so in your head, and then you're kind of like, it's all new, but when you look at everyone else, it does, like, for me, I was like, oh, it feels like these guys have been here. They like know what they're doing, and they had great conversations with Becca, and like they're light years ahead, and I'm just like, what am I doing? And I think a lot of people have to feel that way.
Definitely, because if you talk to the lead early on, even if it goes well, by the end of the night, you're like, have they forgotten about me?
Yeah.
And then if you talk to the lead late, even if it goes well, you're like, well, does he even care?
Yeah.
He didn't talk to me all night. He talked to all these other girls first. And then the first impression rose is always like kind of the added kicker. So, yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's a really tough night overall to get through.
The first impression rose, that's something they can never get rid of.
Never.
Yeah, that's like very important. It's a
Oh
very
my God,
important part.
It'd
That's
be crazy if they got rid of that.
That's really the most important part of the show. Important. I can't speak today.
It's the most important part of the show or the night?
The night.
Yeah.
Night.
It's a very important part. I would agree with that. This was also not the first time we see them, but like Peter's family played such a big role in both like his intro package and then throughout the rest of the season. His mom, Barb, has like so many iconic moments throughout the entire show.
She has to be, out of all the parents of any lead, she is by far
the most famous.
Yeah, like the most well-known.
100%. She would be someone that, like, I mean, his parents seem to be so in love, and I'm so happy they have a happy marriage. But if she was single,
oh my God,
she would be like perfect for the Golden Bachelor.
Yeah. She would have gotten the contract. I don't even think
she'd be the lead.
I don't even think if Peter's mom, obviously she's happily married, but if Peter's mom was single, I don't even think they would have done a Golden Bachelor. I think they would have jumped to the Golden Bachelorette and made it Pete's mom.
I would love to see that. She's such like a vivacious woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was fun to see, like, kind of the start of that journey. And then you see, in the teaser, that famous line of her like, bring her home to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did this thing go at the end? I forget, right? Because doesn't he who does he end up with?
So what ended up happening is he's down to Maddie and Hannah Ann.
Yes.
And who went to hometowns? It was Victoria Fuller, Hannah Ann,
and Madison, obviously.
Maddie Pruvett. But who was Kelsey. Kelsey. We didn't see Kelsey very much in this episode.
No, yeah, you don't see Kelsey. But you do. Oh, you know who you see a lot is Victoria Paul.
Victoria Paul.
So she's another one. Watching this, I would have been like, okay, she's probably going to be there for a while. It seemed that way.
Yeah, she was there for a minute.
But I think I think she's probably like top 10.
Yeah, I think so.
Let me see the face sheet. Anyone else that I was like, yeah, I think
Victoria Paul gets the first one-on-one or one of the first one-on-one dates.
Okay.
Or not the first one. I think because she's on like that Top Gunny style date that they do, I believe. But she gets an early one-on-one date.
And they eliminate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 girls went home night one.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, Joey's season, there had to be what? Like, I don't even think nowhere close to that.
I think my season there was 8 girls that went home night one.
You had a big cast.
Yeah, but so did Joey. We had the same. They kept saying Joey was the biggest cast of all time.
Oh, I was wrong. 10 went home on Joey's season. Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. We're way off. We don't
way
even know what
off.
we're talking about. I can't believe we recapped this show.
But to answer your question, what ends up happening is it's between Maddie and Hannah. You can tell he's like kind of torn.
Yeah.
I think Maddie ends up essentially sending herself home because the values aren't aligned between the two of them.
Yeah.
He gets engaged to Hannah Ann. You know what's crazy is Chris Harrison has like an iconic line at the end where he's basically saying like Hannah Ann doesn't even know she's going to come today. And he said recently that
wasn't true.
That wasn't true.
That is crazy.
That it was true potentially, but he hadn't talked to Hannah Ann that day. Like she didn't tell him that directly. And they get engaged. It's awkward. It's not overly romantic. He like talks about Maddie and their breakup in the proposal. And then they don't work out. Similar as to Becca and Ari, where he breaks up with Hannah at a happy couple house.
Yeah.
And then Maddie and him reconnect. That's when Barb is like, he's got to figure this out for himself. Basically, like, it's not gonna work, but they'll figure that out. And then he gets with Kelly.
And then he dates Kelly for a year.
Then he dates Kelly for a long time. They had a long relationship.
Yeah. I would say the most shocking thing about this entire season for me is I cannot believe, after just even watching night one and then and then knowing what you just told me, the breakup story, I cannot believe Hannah Ann was not the next lead. Maybe they just didn't want to do 2 Hannahs in a row. Like, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I watch it, I'm like, I can't believe Hannah Ann. And she like blew up after that season too, so I can't believe. I mean, maybe she turned it down. Who knows?
Maybe she just wasn't ready. I mean, she had just, because the turnaround time from Bachelor finishing airing to Bachelorette being filmed is like really close.
Yeah.
So like, if she was engaged to him for like a chunk of time, and then she had to like see him again at the finale, maybe she was just like, this is too much for me to now go like date another dude. Like, I just ended an engagement.
Yeah.
But she would have been good to bring back.
Yeah.
She would have been. There's a lot of girls from this, like, in terms of people that we saw again from this season. We had Alexa. No, not Alexa. Sorry. She was, never mind. She was potentially going to be on our season of Paradise, but I don't think she ever made it down to the beach. No. But we had Deandra. We had Kelsey on our season of Paradise. We had Marissa, Natasha, obviously, McKenna.
Victoria Paul.
Yeah. Victoria F wasn't on our season, but on the next season. And then Tammy. And then we've got a lot of people, I think, that are like married now. Like Sydney's married.
Yeah.
I think she just had a kid.
She's married to an NFL star.
Yeah. Hannah Ann's engaged.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy, like, watching back and then thinking, like, all these people were looking for love, and, like, little do they know, in, 4 years, they might be married or having kids, or it's just crazy,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think that's it. That's a recap. We are going to talk to Peter later this week, so make sure you stay tuned, and we'll ask him some questions about night one, also his season and what he's got going on right now. He was a pretty popular player on the show Traders, so we'll talk about that. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned, and thank you for listening to Happy Hour.
Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.
Bye.